Hello and welcome to A Little Crafting. My name is Annie and I'm recording this from Surrey in the UK, which is where I live. This is my bi-weekly podcast where I talk about all the things that I've been knitting, sewing, weaving, yarn dyeing over the last couple of weeks. You can find me on Instagram as a_little_crafting and on Ravelry as Ankiwoo. And today is the 5th of September and this is episode 23, I believe. I hope I've got that right. So let's start with what I'm wearing at the moment, and this is by far my favourite make of 2020. This is the Jupiter Crop by Caitlin Hunter. I'll stand up a little bit so that you can see it a bit more. This one is knit out of Dererum Natura Ulysse, which is a sport weight organic merino yarn from France, which is one of my favourite yarns overall. I absolutely love it for weaving as well. The colours are Confiture de Rose, which is the pink, Ciel, which is the blue, Quartz, which is the kind of light pink. I can't remember the colour of the dark blue, but I think it's Tempête. There you go, Tempête for the dark blue. And then the white is Sel, which means salt in French for the white. So yeah, this is absolutely lovely, great for a kind of in-between season little crop top. I usually would wear it with a dress rather than jeans, but today I'm in a jeans mood. And yeah, it's nice. It's got a kind of just above the shoulder sleeve, so not really very short, but nice to kind of have the colour work on the sleeves as well. And this was such a fast knit because the colour work just kept me going. And I absolutely love it. Feel like it looks like a stained glass window. So yeah, that is what I'm wearing at the moment. So it's kind of in between temperatures here in the UK, a bit cold, a bit warm at times and muggy. So it's a great kind of layering piece for this type of weather. Let's move on to what I've been making in the last couple of weeks. So starting with finished objects. I believe last time I showed a partially finished Bankhead hat, which is this one here. Do a little close up. Here you go. So Bankhead is a pattern by Susie Gourlay. It is a free pattern, but it is my go-to pattern if I want to knit a gift for a hat for a man. Usually my husband has a lovely one of these in Malabrigo Rios yarn, and this one in particular is knit out of Erica Knight Wild Wool, which is a wool and tencel, I think is the word, blend. So it's the type of polyamide kind of nylon made out of nettle, which is really interesting. I'd say it's pretty soft actually, considering it is made with something like nettle. And I've done it in two colours, so a kind of light grey and a dark grey. I'll pop the colours, the codes for the colours in the description below. But yeah, I always really enjoy making this hat. The pattern actually calls for a kind of one row of knit all the way, so you've got this a kind of broken rib in between, but I just go for a rib normally. So effectively a 4x1 or 5x1, 4x1 rib all the way around, and it's got this lovely twisted rib brim as well, which I really love. Yeah, it's a really nice hat, and I actually quite like it in the two colour combo. I only did this because I ran out of the lighter grey and then sort of picked up the darker grey. And then the top is always really nice as well. Yeah, looks really good. Yeah, that's another one for my collection of hats that I'm knitting, one a week of this year. And I have seen that on the UK Hand Knitting Instagram, they are now collecting hats for the homeless. So I will link to the description below so that you can go and have a look if you do want to donate some hand knit hats. And they leave an address that you can send them all to. So what I am going to do in the next couple of weeks is put up probably an Etsy shop with a lot of the hats on there, and then if people want to buy them they can do so, and any that are left over I will send to Hats for the Homeless once, you know, that kind of sale period has finished. I'll probably ask friends and family if any want them first of all, then kind of allow people from the public to buy them, and then any left over will go to charity. And all of those sales will also, the donations will also be going to charity as well, the full amount that I get. So yeah, really liking that pattern still, and yeah, definitely check it out if you're after a really simple hat but with a bit of interest rather than it just being a plain stockinette hat. The next FOs that I have are both the same, and they are actually baby hats. So my colleague is expecting, and I thought I'd knit a couple of baby hats for her. And this is my go-to baby hat yarn, or anything baby to be honest, and it is Cashmerino Aran by Debbie Bliss. It's comprised of 55% wool, 33% acrylic and 12% cashmere, and the key thing is it's soft and washable and isn't 100% acrylic. So I like the fact that it's got some wool and then some cashmere and then some acrylic all combined. So yeah, this is the label. It's going to actually, and this one you can buy from Love Crafts. I think Debbie Bliss is now exclusive to Love Crafts as far as I know. The colour on this one is 3055, so it's just a lovely purple. And what I have knit is the Beloved hat by Solenn Couix-Loare, I think is how you say her name. I should know, I'm half French, but hey. And this is again a free pattern. It was actually released to go with the Dererum Natura Juliette base, but I use obviously this yarn instead. So yeah, it's kind of a double seed stitch or moss stitch texture, which is really pretty. And I like the fact that in this purple, this little hat just looks like a big berry. It's really cute. So I really enjoyed knitting a couple of these. There's two of them. I think one might be slightly bigger than the other because I was knitting it a bit looser. But they do all sorts of sizes, so it goes from kind of baby to large adult. So you can knit an adult size hat like this, but I really like these. And there's a little boy in the Netherlands who I knit a hat like this for when he was born, and he was wearing it a 1.5 still because he loved it so much. So I will have to knit him another one. Because it's probably too small for him now, but it just goes to show that these are really nice and soft yarns, and the hats fit pretty well and stretch out quite nicely too. So I think because of the way the yarn is, it can really stretch out quite well, so it will fit the child for quite a while, which is good. So yeah, this is for little baby, but I will be sending those to the mum shortly. Okay, so that counted as my hat knitting for the week because I couldn't do baby hats and another hat at the time. But I knit 2 baby hats. I think that makes sense, you know, 2 baby hats equivalent to 1. And I'll be casting on another hat later today for my next one of the week. And that is all I've got in terms of finished objects at the moment. So let's move on to knitted works in progress. Now the first one is one that I talked about last week, and that is my Spring Sorrel by Wool & Pine. But I've had a bit of a sticking point with this one in that I've run out of the yarn that I was fading out of. So I have ordered some more from River Knits. So this is the River Knits BFL DK in this lovely Salisbury's colour, kind of greeny blue. And I have started fading into my next colour, which is Industrial Kingfisher in Castaway DK by Stranded Dye Works, which you can't see too well there. But essentially I am out of the colour that I was fading out of, so I do need a bit more of it, and then I can probably reuse the rest of the skein for something else when it does arrive eventually. I know as River Knits is a small hand-dyed company, it's probably a bit tricky for them to get the yarn out as quickly as I would have loved to be able to carry on with this one. But yeah, it's going well. I was really enjoying knitting it, so once that yarn does arrive, I'll probably make really good progress on this project. What I will have to remember though is that I need more yarn when I'm fading than I expect. I thought I'd left about 20 grams of the yarn, but obviously a yoke actually gets quite wide at the top, which means that this section, kind of 2/3 from the bottom, is actually quite yarn intensive, as in it uses quite a lot. So I'll see how I get on later, but absolutely loving the design. Just need to get used to calculating how much I need for something where I'm fading yarn. But I think I said before that once I've done this bit of fading, I will knit the sleeves next, because they'll need to be in the Industrial Kingfisher yarn to be able to match up to the rest of the fade. So fingers crossed I'll be sorted with that yarn soon and be able to crack on with the project. And yeah, really happy with it so far, other than that little frustration, to be honest. So yeah, I'll say actually I'm knitting this one using 2.75mm needles for a DK yarn. Just goes to show how much I have to go down in needle size to get the right gauge, but I'm hoping it will fit really nicely, and be a really good in-between top, a bit like this one, because it will be kind of the same type of thing as a spring sorrel. There is also a knit along going on my Ravelry group, where you can win this pattern as well, and that is to knit a summer top by the end of September. So you've got 25 days left if you do want to join in on that little knit along. And I'm enjoying seeing other people's. Unfortunately, I have put my other summer top to one side at the moment because I decided that knitting linen when it was cold didn't feel right, so I'll be saving that probably until I pick it up again in summer next year. A bit like I did for my last one, which was knit in 100% linen by Dererum Natura, and I finished it off in the summer this year, even though I started it in August last year. So next, work in progress, and these ones I haven't talked about for a little while, so I'm revisiting some older WIPs. The first one is the Lightwood Cowl by Jennifer Steingass, and this one I am knitting in the Fibre Company Cumbria fingering, which is this little label here. Ooh, there we go. And that is in the Isle colour, which is a grey, okay, light grey. And the other one is a Chopel wool Starke 6, so a Zauberball style, but in the sport weight version, which is this lovely thing. And I always butcher the name, but I think it's Chocolendensite. I'll double check it again. Let's see, I have the label here. Yeah, Chocolendensite, I reckon is what that is. Let's see. And it is colour 2092, I think. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not great at German, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But I'll pop all the details again in the description box below with all of the links to everything I'm making. So I haven't got that much further on this one, but I have kind of done a couple of sections again. So this is where I am now, down here. And it's interesting because we've got like all sorts of different shades of the kind of orangey red, and now it's actually gone into like a black and grey section. So actually let me take the keeper off so that I can show you a bit better. Try not to drop my stitches. But yeah, you can see it's gone into this kind of grey part here, dark grey and black, which is quite interesting. I really do like the way it's kind of fading. No one section is the same. And then you've got some high contrast bits like this section here where it's really very red. So it's really nice. I'm enjoying it. What I am going to do is probably not make it a long cowl because I feel like it's got quite wide. So instead I'm going to knit about double the length of this and then fold it inside, so inwards. Let me see if I can show you. So inwards from here and join up in the middle, so that it can be a cowl that I stick over my neck in that way. And then I think if I was to knit it again and I wanted a longer one, I'd either take a section out or have to knit it on smaller needles, which is probably not my preferred way of changing it. Probably take a section out. But I think I'm unlikely to knit the same cowl again. I'll see how it goes, whether I want to once I've finished that off, because I'm still only about halfway, I think, in terms of the actual knitting time. But still enjoying it. It's colour work, so it's really nice to memorise, and it's a mostly geometric pattern, so you can kind of just keep going, see what you need to do from the row before as well quite easily, and just crack on. So yeah, colour work definitely just keeps me going overall. I'm knitting this on 3mm needles, so yeah, again fairly small, although this is fingering weight yarn and sport weight yarn held together, so quite a fine yarn relative to the Wool & Pine design, the Spring Sorrel, which is actually knit out DK weight yarn, but obviously on a tighter gauge. There we go. Doing okay with that one. I'll just keep going and update you as and when the new colours come through on the Zauberball Starke 6 yarn. I'm enjoying seeing how the colour progresses overall in that ball, because I don't think I've come to like a repeat that's the same as one before yet. So we'll see how that develops over time. It's quite interesting and just keeps me going a bit like Stripes, I think, where you just kind of keep going to see what happens next. And yeah, liking that project overall, and yeah, we'll see how I get on in the season of autumn, which is probably when I want to be wearing it, to be honest. So I probably need to crack on a bit and get more done for now. The last thing that I have been working on is not something I've touched for a year. So last year, if you were watching my podcast at the time, you'll know that I started the Starflanket blanket by Stephen West, and I got into the centre section. I finished the centre section, and then I thought, oh my god, I'm gonna have 500 plus stitches on the needles, I better put this away for a little bit. And it's taken me almost a year to get it out again, but it's been quite cold in the UK this week, so I really felt like knitting something cozy and warm, and I thought I'll just pop upstairs and get my blanket out and try and do a bit more. So I'll remind you of where I am for any watchers that were watching last year. So I did this centre kind of star section, and apologies, you won't be able to see the whole thing because it is a bit scrunched up. It is quite big or wide, so overall if I can keep adding cables together, but it's just a bit of a pain, and I quite like knitting it this way. So it has a centre kind of 8-point star, I think, yeah, 8-point star. In orange and grey. The yarn I am using is Willow and Lark. The orange is colour 112. The grey is colour 137. Blue is 135, and the white is 102, and I'll pop those in the description below as well. But yeah, basically I've got this centre star section, and that's where I stopped. I just picked up all of the stitches around the outside and did one row, I think. But then there is the next bit, which is this kind of blue section with the white garter ridges in between, and it is 529 stitches on the needles, I think, or 528 maybe. So there's a lot of stitches at the moment, so all the way around here is quite a long way. I worked out it's about 8 times a baby hat. Yeah, 8 times a baby hat row. So you can see, obviously I'd knit a baby hat as quickly as I knit this little section here. But yeah, I am enjoying it. It's taking a really long time. I have to keep reminding myself that I am allowed to stop between finishing a row, because I have this thing in my head where I go, no, I need to finish a row before I'm allowed to stop. And then you realise that actually a row takes, what, half an hour to an hour to do, depending on how distracted I am. And yeah, it's a bit tricky, but I'm enjoying it, so that's a good sign, which means I will keep going with it, and eventually I will have a massive round blanket that has about 1,000 stitches on the needles that I need to do an I-cord bind off on. Not looking forward to that. That's going to take me a while. So yeah, let's see how I get on with this. I'm looking forward to getting onto the brioche section, which is after this section, and then I think there's only one section after that, if I remember correctly. I will I'll pop a picture just here so that you can see how the final result will look, because I appreciate this is a bit scrunched up, but you can see the star in the middle and the section round the edge there, which has that garter ridge. So yeah, there'll be 3 garter ridge sections, so I've just done one, so I'm about 1/3 of the way through this section, and then I'll carry on. So yeah, the idea is that it's the orange, grey, kind of teal and white to match the colours in my lounge of our throw cushions and our curtains, so that I have a lovely blanket that matches, that we can stick over the back of the sofa, and when we're cold we can pull to the front and put over our legs. I imagine it will become more of a cat blanket than our blanket, because I bet you my cat Susie will decide that this is hers rather than ours, and spend a lot of time sitting on it and getting it all covered in hair. We'll see. I might have to hide it in a cupboard until we get it out later, but either way it'll be lovely to be able to enjoy this in the winter. So again, let's try. I'm going to try and crack on with these 2 things now. Obviously once my yarn comes for my spring sorrel, I'll probably just really push on with that as well. So I'm going to be doing a lot of knitting in the coming weeks. I hope you're prepared to see the same project grow over and over again. Yeah, so that is all I've got in terms of works in progress. So the yarn is, yeah, Willow Lark Ramble. It is a DK weight yarn. Just to say, that is the thickness of yarn that I'm using. And that is also another yarn that's exclusive to Love Crafts, I think. So yeah, I just picked up a load because they were on offer at one point and they had the colours that I wanted. Although I would probably prefer the teal to be a bit more like this, I guess. This one here. So a bit more kind of oceany. But yeah, it's kind of more of a grey teal, I would say, personally. But it'll be fine. It goes, so that's okay. Moving on to the next thing that I'm doing. So I didn't share my baby patchwork last time, which is for the same baby as the hats. Unfortunately, I realised I didn't have enough backing fabric for it, so I had to order some more. Because of that, I had to pause kind of my progress. Well, I didn't have to, but I didn't feel up for it because I had to order more fabric. So I am still waiting for the correct one from Love Crafts, as I ordered it 2 weeks ago. It arrived over a week later and it was the wrong thing. At least a blanket or a quilt won't be too small for the baby. As it grows, it'll probably love it. So fingers crossed it'll arrive soon. I can get that finished and then move on to the next baby quilt, because I'll be making another one after that. But I am enjoying the process, and I'm definitely learning how to sew straight lines. I'm hoping I will get quicker at the overall process as well through doing this, kind of measuring things, cutting them, and then sewing everything together. So it's definitely a learning experience for me in terms of sewing a lot. Moving on to what's next, and I actually have some acquisitions for once. So I know normally I've been pretty good this year actually at not buying a lot of yarn, and trying to use up more yarn than I'm buying. But I had a few yarns that were on my list of I would like to try these this year, and it's September already. That's almost the end of the year. So I had one opportunity which was a great one, which I'll talk about first of all, and that was for Knitting for Olive. I wanted to try their merino yarn at some point, and the other day they put up a post saying that for all of the Friday they were going to be donating all the sales to UNICEF to help with the crisis in Afghanistan at the moment. And I thought that was the perfect opportunity to jump right in and order some yarn to try. So I'm just going to lean across and get it. Is that the right one? Yes. So I have bought a couple of different things. This is Knitting for Olive Merino in the navy blue. And it's 100%, I think, organic merino, extra fine merino, traceable, non-mulesed, and Okotex standard. So lovely navy blue colour there. I think my plan was to make the little bear hat that they have as a pattern. I know I bought it when I ordered the yarn, so I think that's what this was for, but I'm not sure who for. We'll see. But yeah, so I've got 3 balls of this merino Knitting for Olive, and it is fingering weight, I believe. Yeah, it doesn't actually say on the ball band, but yeah, it's fingering weight. Then I did something very uncharacteristic for me. So the colour is not uncharacteristic. I mean, look at that. That's just totally me. The colour is claret. It's actually not as orange as it's coming out on camera. It's more reddy brown, I would say. And this is mohair. So let's test to see if I am really allergic to mohair by knitting a sweater out of it. Yeah, so I've got how many of these? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 balls of each. So this is the merino again, and it's 250 meters per 50 grams. So I've got 5 balls of that, and oh, you can see I'm sniffling already. What? The silk mohair is 20% mohair, 30% silk, traceable to farm, reach standard, 225 meters per 25 grams. So I obviously calculated that for this sweater I would need a certain amount, but this should be fine. So I will be holding the mohair and the merino together, and my plan is to knit the fern sweater, which is a Knitting for Olive pattern, which is also called the Bregner sweater, and I'll pop a picture of that here. What is quite uncharacteristic for me is that it's lace. What is going on with my brain? What I really love about it actually is the roll neck and the kind of lovely warm polo neck situation going on, and I do think it's a very stylish sweater. I think it sits really nicely and I think it will suit me. I'm gonna have to think about what to wear underneath it though, because Probably something like a black top, I imagine, will be fine, although I'm likely to end up with red mohair all over it afterwards, so what have I got myself into? But yeah, that's going to be a project for some point. I've got a lot of other things that I'm planning to knit this year, so, and like I said, it's September already, so I probably won't be casting this one on quite yet. It might end up being a project for next year. But I'm really looking forward to trying out the yarn, knitting with mohair, held double with merino for the first time ever, and getting to grips with knitting a lace jumper. I think it will be really nice once it's done. I do love a good polo neck type sweater, but to be honest, I could make any sweater into a polo neck if I wanted to. But this one just caught my eye and I couldn't resist going for something completely out of the box for me. Except for the colour, obviously, because I have to keep something the same. So yeah, that is what I got from Knitting for Olive. They are a Danish company, but this bag of goodies actually arrived quicker than the Lovecrafts delivery the first time around. So it was shipped all the way from Denmark and got here earlier than something shipped within the UK. So that's kind of funny, but I'm, yeah, excited about this. The other yarn that I would really wanted to try from the get-go this year is some of Emma from Woolly Mammoth Fibre Company's yarn, and that is because it is naturally dyed, sourced within the UK, and just absolutely lovely. I have tried a few times to get some yarn from one of her shop updates, and most times I've been carjacked, or you know, the yarn's run out and I've just given up. And this time she put an update up. I think I logged in about an hour afterwards and there was still quite a lot of yarn left, so I'm really happy with that. The first thing I got was some of her natural sock, which is 50% BFL, 50% Cheviot. It's sourced, spun and made in the UK, and the fibre originates in the UK, and it's 4-ply fingering weight. This colour is mid indigo, so you can probably tell very me. I probably won't be making socks out of it, but I'll have a think about what I do make out of it. I really just was drawn to this for the colour, and I wanted to try some of her fingering weight yarn as well as the other bits that I got. So that was purchase number 1. The other purchases were these lovely things. So these are BFL Gotland DK, which is 7% BFL and 25% Gotland, spun and made in the UK. The fibre origin was the BFL in the UK and the Gotland in Sweden, and it was obviously naturally dyed in Northern Ireland by Emma. And I got these 3 colours. So again, on the uncharacteristic colour choices options, so this colour is absolutely beautiful. It is moss, so it's a very light kind of green colour. This one is a kind of purple that I would not normally go for, and that is Wildflower. And this one is Peony, which is kind of like an old pink. It reminds me of the yarn that I used for my friend's owl jumper, actually. Really beautiful. Kind of a really rustic pink colour. And I do have one more of the moss as well, just to have 2 colours. And I'm not sure what I'm going to make with these. I'm tempted to say a shawl of some kind, but I'm not really 100% sure which pattern. I need to have a little look at Ravelry, but these are the colours together. I thought they were really pretty, very spring colours, and I really love the idea of trying some naturally dyed yarn, because you get these more muted tones with natural dyeing. And it's just great. I love the idea that these kind of as natural as you could possibly get in terms of yarn. You know, they've come from local sources to me. Obviously Northern Ireland not that local, I suppose you still have to go over a bit of water to get there, but beautiful, beautiful yarn, all dyed with plants, and just really lovely. And I really love her logo. I think that just screams exactly what Woolly Mammoth is about. Beautiful. So yeah, I have those to work with. Again, I'm not sure these are really my colours. What am I doing? But let's see, I might be making a gift out of these. I'll find out. And then this is definitely my colour, but I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. Let me know if you have any ideas of what I should make as a kind of one skein sock weight yarn thing. Okay, excuse me for the rustling. These also arrived pretty quickly, so good old postal service there. Yeah, and I'm so excited to try all of these, but resisting the urge because I have some projects that I need to keep going with. So I'm not going to do loads of casting on and end up with a ton of different projects on the go, especially because then I won't finish the ones that I need to. And that is pretty much it. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm afraid I don't have any yarn dyeing at the moment. I've had a bit of a break from that right now until I get a bit more inspiration or someone asks me to dye something for them. Just because I've found that I'm dyeing a lot of yarn. I've got a basket full over here. I've got all of these as well that I've dyed and I'm not using them yet, so I need to slow down, I guess. I'm having fun creating all the colours and I just need to take a step back, work out what I want to do with the yarn and then move forward with that. Especially because I have a shawl to knit out of these ones soon. So yeah, I hope you have a lovely couple of weeks and I will speak to you then. Happy crafting. Bye.